And good evening, good morning. Welcome to Sunday. If it's Sunday, it's Free Talk. It's Free Talk with MrB. Welcome, 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 everyone around the world. And we have Sameena coming in from her engagement, prior engagement. She'll be here in a couple of minutes. And Professor Mia is on with us. And we'll start off the conversation here on Free Talk. How are you, ma'am?
I'm very well, thank you. So yes, again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody around the world, whoever is around us. And especially, like I said, good morning to you. Wow, my day is nearly half done. Yours is nearly beginning. So yeah, I am very well, thank you, from a rainy South Africa. And I'm sure, how are things there?
Things here for me, because I live in the suburbs, is quiet and sometimes too quiet. And I look forward to my Sundays to engage. And as we were introducing ourselves, we have the wonderful Sameena coming online. It's so nice to have you on, madam. How are you?
Hi. Hello, everyone. Good evening. So sorry.
It's quite okay. I believe sincerely that life must continue and life must happen. And so everything that goes on in life, I think it's a wonderful way to podcast, because we want our listeners to know we're for real and we're heart drawn and heartfelt. So when someone can't make it, or something is happening, or the dog is barking, or someone is ringing the doorbell, it's okay with Free Talk.
Yes.
Free Talk. Yay.
So,
welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam.
And in many parts of the world, everyone is going through Ramadan. And here in the United States is very festive and other religious activities also. But on Free Talk, we concentrate on giving back. And we have been talking quite a few subjects from the book I penned. Sameena is just, she just warms my heart. She picks up the book and makes me feel so comfortable and welcomed. The Art of Giving Back. And we've been talking about the nuggets that's inside of the book. The book is a lot about how my life has transpired. But I wanted to know, when did I start giving back and why? And I had to ask my uncles about my youth. And of course, from about 18, 19, when I started a real adult life, I know a lot of things, so I was able to write those things down. But I wanted to understand what I was giving back. And then when I thought about it, in this particular nugget, I looked back and realized I think I made a few mistakes. And we call it a mistaken kindness. And gosh, I try really hard to be kind as much as I can around the world and within my home and myself. But I could make a mistake. Sameena, tell me.
Yes, absolutely. I think we do make mistakes sometimes. It's okay to make those mistakes. But I think, like we discussed in a couple of our earlier episodes, we might not have an intent to get it back, or we might not have an intent to land in trouble because of our giving. But then we've just kind of given, and then coincidentally or unfortunately, the person you have given it to has not reciprocated the way it had to be, and then you are in trouble. You will not foresee that. You will not have an intention, or you will not think before. Like I said last time, I would have helped people because of the need at that moment. And and after that, whatever we discuss or whatever it is, and then we would have said that, okay, fine, when it gets to this is what we would do. But then situations and the turnaround of things went on in such a way that we actually landed in a very different scenario, and the person either had no face to kind of even say anything for what was discussed earlier. But then, yes, I think those mistakes happen, and we all are learning, and we will continue to learn.
So I know I want Professor Mia to really dive in on this. But before she dive in, I wanted to say that mistaken kindness comes from many, many different angles. It's another one of those subjects that we can be discussing for days, on the broadness of how we could make these mistakes in many, many categories. But let's see what her thoughts are.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, if you have to break down just those two words, mistake and kindness, just those two words in itself can be too broadcasted, because mistakes are so far-fetched. Kindness is so and misused in this world, in this day and age. What I might perceive as being kind to somebody, to someone else might be, oh, this is my art of abusing this person because I'm going to be able to get back what I want. So the mistake is what we need to concentrate on. Is there ever really a mistake when your intent is pure? And I truly believe if we giving with the intention of the pureness in it, then the reception and the perception that is, whether it's abuse or not abuse, really, we should not expect anything in return, number one. But number two, we should also know that when we are giving and we are giving with the purest of intention, then it's really not going to be a mistake if the kindness is misperceived. But remember, we are all only human. So when we're doing something good for somebody, it's almost like an expected, you know what, that person is going to be humble. They're going to be so happy. They're going to be okay with me. And when you don't get that reception after you've done your bit of kindness, then you wonder, was it a mistake to help them in the first place? But remember, your intention in helping was not to get that back. It was your humanity part of you that's wanting that back. So there are mistakes that we can make continuously, but I must let everybody who's listening know, mistakes is equal to an adversity. And for me and what I teach, adversity is merely an opportunity, and it is an opportunity for you to grow through it. So when you realize the mistake, and that is the key, is to realize when the mistake happens. When you realize and you're aware, here's what I've done, here's what the mistake was. When you become aware that that was the mistake, the key for you is to learn from that so the mistake is never repeated. So the next time you are giving in a different manner that does not give you back the reception that was not healthy in the first place. So the key is to learn from whatever your mistakes are so that they never repeated, and that you grow in your processes of whenever you're learning from the mistakes as they happen, because mistakes are there. All of us are human. None of us are perfect.
Yes.
So when we do make these mistakes, we need to accept and embrace, okay, this was my mistake. It's okay. I'm moving on from it. Here's my mistake. I've learned from it. This is my lesson and I'm moving away. So take with your mistake the lesson from it.
For sure, for sure. And Sameena, your angle.
I would see mistaken kindness, these two words, in two different angles. One is for the giver, where mistaken kindness probably, I'm mistaking the other person's situation and I'm continuing to give that person. But it's not actually required for me to continue to give. Probably that person is just keeping quiet and receiving it because I'm okay to give. So, that's one angle where
Right.
the taken kindness, I see the words in a different direction. That's one direction I see it from the giver's angle. And then from the receiver's angle, like I had it on my post, the world is getting hollow day by day, unfortunately. And people are getting hollow because they just don't acknowledge what is being received. It might be given by someone, it might be given by your own family, it might be given anywhere. Every day we are giving and taking, and every relationship, be it at work or family or friends, everything, even spouses, we said everything is a give and take, and it has to be acknowledged with love.
Right.
I think, otherwise it's just getting hollow day by day, and the person just doesn't acknowledge, either the corporate doesn't acknowledge, either the family doesn't acknowledge, or your friends are not acknowledging. It's like everything at the end of the day is just being taken for granted, and there's no value. The value of,
I have to agree. I have to agree. I agree. And let me tell you why I agree is because one of the drives I do here, for example, is, and I'm sure everywhere this is happening, we do grocery hamper drives to specific families that are in need. And of course, that's been a growing factor because of the pandemic, etc. But now we're at a point where obviously things are calming down regarding pandemic-wise. So I just the other day, actually, I had this discussion with a group of people that from the organizations that I run, etc. And we said, okay, so now we need to stop just giving, start teaching people how to self-sustain again. because they've become so comfortable with us just providing this on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis, that those that are able in their home to find employment or to even start a gardening project, etc., to to enhance their skill to self-sustain is not even workable anymore, simply because we just keep giving. And we need to stop that, because the mentality now has become so, like you're saying, hollow, that, okay, I'll just accept and I can accept, And I agree.
Now, a lot of time this feeds into raising children also. And I know circumstances will make a 36-year-old come back home or live at home and so on. But sometimes us parents are so giving and so caring, we can do more damage than good, which I call mistaken kindness. Or being reluctant to scold or discipline by way of a good, healthy conversation with our children about what's right and what's wrong and so on. The nugget in the book that I wrote about this one was me. I made a mistake. And I wanted to be liked so much. There was a lady at work in the bank that she was about to go with her husband and learn how to drive. And I say, oh, on the way home, I normally give her a lift home. You can practice driving my car at home before, on the way home. Of course, she ran the car into a pole and it caused damage, and the car had to be repaired. It took some time, but it gave a great inconvenience to my wife and my child, and they had to walk and take the bus, and we were out of a car. And so it was a mistake. And although I was trying to be kind, maybe for my own self-satisfaction, I caused a mistake. I caused harm to others. And so sometimes when we have the given, I want us to, and the lesson here is to be conscious and to be cautious and to consider what we're doing. And one of the strengths we need in giving is knowing when to say no.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's, and it's a weakness for me, but I've been working on this so much to know when to say when to say no, and let it be a giving strength. Because like you're saying, Mia, we can create habits that people are not self-sustaining. We can create habits where they become dependent. And it's maybe only because we forgot to say no. And so the whole idea of giving, the whole idea of giving back is to make sure we are not creating harm. And why it's so important, at least for me and my two sons. I told my first son, it's like, I really, really did teach you how to fish so you can fend for yourself. The younger son, I gave him a fish, but the way he handles his fish, he knew how to preserve it. So that was good. And I kept watching. So maybe he did learn how to fish too. But at the same time, it was just so much more important for me as I grew up not to continue these mistakes. And like you said, learn from it. And so it's a whole balancing act with giving and not creating harm to other humans by the way we give. And so I look forward to your comment on what happened.
Yes, absolutely. I think I do know of someone's experience where they've continued to give so much at the workplace. Even we do that at times. We continue to give, and the turn of things happens in such a way at one point that you say nobody cares in terms of how much you've given,
Right?
And already you would have given about 10-15 years of your lifetime to the organization or whatever it is. But then again, the expectation, what the person has in giving to the organization, and there comes the disappointment when this happens. That okay, it was not reciprocated the way whatever things had to go or were expected by the person. However, I think even from the other side, like I said, the acknowledgement from the organization's perspective was very, very important in that case, and they should have really valued the individual giving, and in terms of what more the individual can actually be able to give if we are just acknowledging this. That acknowledgement, that one moment, is very, very important, is what I feel. Yes. Otherwise, the individual itself would have stopped giving. It would have just lowered the confidence of the individual so much. The person would just stop giving, and that's not we don't want to make the person bitter. We always want him or
Yeah.
her to be better.
I like that. Instead of making them bitter, we want to make them better. And you also use the word, what happens to us a lot of times is disappointment. And in conversations with my wife, I keep saying, I used to say it more than before, that expectations unfulfilled is the definition of disappointment. So if disappointment is the expectations unfulfilled, the one thing we could manage is manage our expectations. And so we should be able to give to ourselves healthy viewpoints, healthy expectations, and we can use those very healthy approaches to consider the harm that might come from giving back. And if we give too much, it does not mean that the person we're giving is appreciating what we're giving, or the organization that we're giving it to is appreciating it. They may never be a thank you, They may never be you're welcome. It may never be a promotion. It may never be a bonus. But we have to find ways as we do this to feel satisfied with ourselves. We have to feel so satisfied that we're managing our expectations as we decide that we're going to give back. And so we have to kind of gate in all of our expectations so no one can disappoint us, because we did it for ourselves. We did it because we really wanted to. We did it because we thought that is our own personal internal ethic. For example, like work ethics, it's ours. It's not our company's. It's ours. Yeah. So like I told a boss one time, it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do. I've worked here for 20 something years and you've paid me for 20 something years. I appreciate that. But I am going to be the way I purport to be. And so I encourage everyone. And that's how I was able to manage my work ethic. Granted, I got disappointed because there are times I had these expectations, but I had to remanage them and reorganize them inside of my thought patterns. If you see where I'm pointing, I'm pointing to the seat of my emotions, because I'm a very emotional man. But that's where I had to manage it. And when I realized that, it was controlled because it was inside of my bubble of control. All those external factors, I had to ignore them.
Yeah, that is actually awesome. And that's because, and I say awesome because that defines why this book is the art of giving back, because it's actually an art in itself. Really, it is. It's an art in itself to be able to recognize when these things are happening to you in a negative way, so that you're able to transform them into becoming the positive lesson that you take back from whatever it is. Because remember, I think each one of us loves to people please, and at some point that people pleasing portion has got to stop. And that art is where's the barrier line to say the no is, yes, it's crucial. It's crucial all around, whether it's family, whether it's organization, whether it's children, whether it's spouse. At some point you have got to learn how to say no. And yes, I still battle with that till today, mind you. It's not something that's so easy. But many a time it's when you go through the lessons and you learn the mistake that you learn where the barrier has to come in. And that's where the key point is, that you're actually getting what your lesson is, that this was my mistake and this is where I need to take the lesson from, and then I move ahead and I move on. But when it comes to corporates, remember, we need to know where to stop and remain who we have to be, because lots of people stay true to what the value and mission is of the company or the entity, and forget that you have your own mission and vision of what you wish for yourself ethically. So you need to know what the boundaries are between the two.
And so the billionaire Warren Buffett, he himself is quoted as saying that one of the strongest assets in business, or skill sets, or values, or whatever anyone would like to call it, is the power of being able to say no. It's one of the most dominant strength needed to be successful. And it took me a long time to learn that, but we have to know how to say no. And, the sky is not going to fall. Most of the time, the person is not going to hate us. At the same time, I could swear they were going to, but they didn't.
Yeah, but, most sometimes when you actually say no, it becomes a positive for the person you're saying no to, because it will become their lesson to learn. So sometimes we need to realize that when we say no to somebody, it makes them grow in whatever they have to go through, because you said that.
Because one time someone, and I get communication from around the world, because I'm a, some people call me the king of giving back. But what people didn't realize, I wanted to give them something way more valuable. I wanted to give back something way more valuable. And many times when communicated with, I have to say no, because they're asking for something that I couldn't and shouldn't produce. At the same time, some say, you're the only one who could help me, and I don't believe in that. I believe there are other mechanisms of getting help. And if I was the only one, I would help myself more. I am not God, and I refuse to be godly, or to take the position of God, because I cannot be the only one. And that's like a red flag right away for me to say no. And again, it used to bother me a lot, but saying no is the tool we have against mistaken kindness and against mistaken giving. That's the tool we have, and I encourage everyone to use it.
Yes, completely agree with that, I think, yes. And I I just laughed when you said, when someone said that you're the only one who can help me. I really don't know how the person can assume this. And
but they do, right?
Yes. And what an assumption. You don't have faith in yourself. You don't have faith in Almighty who's made you. You're depending on a human being.
It made me so uncomfortable. I quickly said, no, do not do that. I do not and will not take that kind of glory. I cannot be the only one. So I told him, you need to pray and pray to whoever. In fact, I think I either tell the story or I have a story that I say, when you're in need, if you're in a village or in a community and you're in need, gather everyone that's in need. You'll realize how much you have. Here in the United States, we use the term potluck, where there's a eating party, everyone brings a small dish.
Yeah.
And so if you have no dishes at all, you should organize the party, encourage everyone to bring something. And you're saying you're hosting it. So if you had nothing, what you did have is the wherewithal to organize it and the ability to have it. And you'll be surprised when everyone leaves, there'll be leftovers if everyone brings a small dish. And so there's always a way, in order to benefit from at least eating, and that's the bare minimum we need anyway, is have something to eat. And so I don't believe that I can solve problems around the world. I think I want to give back as much advice as I can and experience as I can. And I encourage people around the world to do the same and not be caught in mistaken kindness.
Yes,
so as we start with Sameena, how could you say no? What would you want to say no to?
I would want to say a no to, I don't think I'm really at a point where, I really don't want to say, because, even when you have to say that no, there's so many strings attached to that no, or we as a person have so many things before we say no.
Right.
Though we want to say a no, we might not be able to say a no at that moment, So in the current situation, or the world, which has gone through so much with the pandemic, and everyone's trying to make as much as possible very quickly so that they can recover from whatever losses they have made in the last few years. I don't blame the people in terms of, they are at times not being able to acknowledge what it is, because probably they themselves have gone through so much of hurt. And, I don't know, maybe regret after giving to someone or whatever, that they have lost the emotion of acknowledging.
Right. And Mia, I know you said it was time to stop doing a certain amount of giving so people can get back on their feet a normal way. Is that a form of saying no?
It is, actually. It is. And mind you, it's not reciprocated very well, because people have become so comfortable in that zone of receiving that they're not happy with being told, listen, you need to start to get back into the swing of things now. So what the whole thing for me is education, though, is if I'm going to stop doing something, what is the alternative that I can give you that you can grow by? That's what I believe. I mean, just to take away or to say no it's not going to help the person at all. You need to also give them the alternative. The alternative is obviously that you have a skill, let's grow with it. And then you don't need a me anymore. So even when I teach or when I'm lecturing, when I have a one-on-one session, I don't expect somebody to be in my session for the next 4 years. I need them to finish off a session and move on. And whatever tools from me, go and take it and help somebody else with, So people need to just really also understand when somebody is saying no, it's sometimes for your own benefit, but it's not as easy to say no, really. When you're looking at somebody who really is in need in front of you, or they're creating the perception that they need, it's not as easy to just say no. But I have learned that, and it's actually, like I said, not reciprocated very well. But we need to teach the alternative to, okay, if I'm saying no, then this is the alternative as to why I'm saying no and what I can do to help you after, because I'm exiting the picture.
Very nice, yes. So as we close out this portion of the program, we look forward to coming on again next week to continue this conversation as we get feedback from our listeners, because I know they're going to be very interested in forms of mistaken kindness and why we can solve some of the mistaken kindness by saying no. Now, a lot of times we can call a spade, or we can call a no. And we can say it in many different ways, but it's still no. But we were not wicked people. We were kind people. Why we were trying to give back in the first place. So we're getting into the phase where we can try to avoid mistaken kindness from our home, from our spouses, from our children, from our jobs, from our lives, from ourselves, because we need to say no to ourselves sometimes, and even to improve our health. And so we want to continue this conversation next week the best we can. I know logistically we're all being different places again. So Sameena from Dubai, you might be traveling, and Mia, I know you will be in South Africa. I'll be in Houston still, and we will continue the conversation from the art of giving back, the nuggets of giving back, and we will continue why mistaken kindness and giving back, and how we're going to confidently say yes or no in order to help ourselves and help others.
Yes, I think that's a skill I really need to learn. I'm still learning. I really cannot say a no many times.
Oh, great. So next week, let's talk about how many ways we can say no. To avoid mistaken kindness, how many ways we can say no, right? And especially like Professor Mia said, is to come up with alternatives that persons can exercise while you're saying no. Give them alternatives. But the answer, of course, is still no.
Yes, yes.
You guys, thank you so much for being on Free Talk. We look forward to Free Talk, and pretty soon I'll be launching a commercial about Free Talk, because we want people talking. We want everyone around the world giving back by talking to each other. And I'm going to be trying to help around the world as much as I can so people can have their own show. And so we look forward to the podcast from the hospital, and we look forward to Professor Mia's activities, and can't wait for Dedra to come back with the subject that she has on her hands. And if it's Sunday, it's Free Talk. It's Free Talk with MrB around the world. Thank you very much.